What is going on, folks? Hope you're all doing very, very well. Jumping on for a live today. It's been a little while. Just got back from a month away. So I thought I'd come hang out with you all, see what folks are up to, do a little bit of an AMA, field any questions. We can talk about any topics that you guys want to riff on and just keep it pretty chill and relaxed and kind of open in terms of the subject matter that we cover today. As you guys are hopping on, make sure you drop me a live. If you catch the replay after the event, drop a replay. If you guys drop more comments, it means we can get more people to see this. It means we can have a better, more thorough discussion. We've done these periodically over the journey. I'm kind of at a point where I'm weighing up whether we make them a consistent feature or not. So really that's going to depend on if folks want to come and hang out or not. Ringo, what's going on? Great name, dude. Love it. Jedediah, McCool. How we doing, folks? Start firing away your questions. So there's some new names popping up, which is cool. This group's been around for a while, quite a few years at this point. It's undergone various kind of iterations. In particular, I help people with their coaching and consulting businesses. We do things in a bit of a different way. We don't use sales calls. We focus on looking for key points of leverage that we can tap into wherever possible. You could say that we value energy and time over raw financials while still trying to build a business that generates significant cash flow for the founder. We can riff on any element of that. You guys just hit me with your questions and your thoughts and let me know what you're struggling with, and I'm happy to field anything. I don't like to do the whole big story, but when we got newer people, we've done millions online. I've won awards in the affiliate game. I've been consulting since 2011. I've consulted companies in the 500 million a year to $5 billion range. So I've got a strong consulting background. I'd hazard a guess that there's probably not many people online that have the same kind of profile of consulting experience that I do. And last 2 years in particular, we've really just been refining this model that lets people crank, 50K plus a month while keeping things pretty chill. I gave up a lot of my 20s working 60, 80, 100 hours a week in the corporate game. And so the time and energy element is really, really important to me, probably more so than others that haven't been through that experience. But I think most of them ultimately get there. So that's just a snapshot and kind of backstory. Jedediah, what's your take on one product, one brand, one offer versus multiple offers, one brand? I'm working on a niche offering product within my overall brand, a wider focus. That's a really good question. Something I've actually been reflecting on a bit lately, dude. If you're starting one offer, you can have a broader brand, but I'd have one offer. If you can't make one offer profitable, then there's no point trying to add more offers. I've undergone a bit of a shift on this recently. I entered the year with the plan to build out a more kind of robust product stack, and then pretty quickly as we got into Q1, it wasn't the path I wanted to go down. So our major focus is our inner circle and one-to-one offers, which is really all under one umbrella. It's just kind of varying levels of support. So I really like having that one flagship offer. It just makes life a hell of a lot easier. What's up, Mark? Appreciate it, McCool. Yeah, one product, one brand, definitely. One personal brand. Yeah, if those two can be congruent, that's ultimately ideal. You may reach a crossroads in your journey where you've got to split. Like my branding is focused more on coaches and consultants because that's the kind of main path, but we still have our affiliate marketing offer as well, which is where the brand came from. So they may reach a point where you've got a bit of crossover and the brand messaging isn't necessarily congruent with the messaging of all of your offers. But starting out, yeah, if you can make those two things aligned, that would be ideal. there's people out there who say, you know, one offer until you hit 1 million. And I think that's pretty good advice. At what point did you begin building your team, and what elements in your business were indicators of needing to make those changes? Well, it's funny you ask that, because I mean, even now my team is tiny. Back in the corporate days, I managed big teams of people in the companies that we got dropped into, and big teams suck. I guess there's a couple of elements. There's need driven and there's want driven hiring, right? Like, I would have the time to do certain things, but if it drains my energy, I don't want to do it. Or if I could reinvest that time into something that's going to get me a higher ROI, and that doesn't necessarily mean a financial ROI. It could be just an enjoyment ROI, like spending time with friends and family and stuff. Then you can make the decision to do it. Obviously, it's got to be financially viable relative to the revenue that the business is bringing in. But like, I've got, I mean, the business is kind of split at the moment. We've got the kind of legacy affiliate marketing things, but if you look at the main messaging currently, which is for coaches and consultants, which is kind of the go forward branding, the quote unquote team is me, a VA, and the YouTube agency, right? So it's lean, right? Like, I do the content, I tap in the sales when people are ready to rock, and I do the delivery. And I really still don't work that much because of how kind of refined things are. But I think people typically hire too soon and too heavy. I did a post on my profile about that yesterday. Emmanuel, curious to know how many clients are you averaging per month? We don't really set like quotas. So I'll give you an insight into my view of client volume. One, the most important thing for me is that I enjoy working with them. So if 10 of the right opportunities or 20 of the right opportunities pop up in a given month, we'll put volume in, right? Be to whatever program it may be. If there's a month where the opportunities that arise don't align, I'm not going to chase a revenue target and enroll people that I don't want to work with, which is pretty different from how most people tackle things. I just don't want to work with people that are a pain in the ass, plain and simple. So I really don't care if we go a month and we don't enroll a new client, so be it, right? It doesn't happen, but so be it. Just to give you the kind of extreme example, I just want people in my inner circle and one-to-one who I actually really love working with. And I think that's without, sounding whatever. Once you get past the point of needing the money, that becomes the priority. So trying to kind of arbitrarily hit a certain number of clients, what that does is it makes the focus, or it means you're optimizing for something that isn't really the most important thing for me, right? So if I said I have to hit 10 clients a month, and there's not 10 people that I really, 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 really want to work with, then that means that by nature, in order to hit that target, if that's our core thing that we're optimizing for, then I have to compromise on that. And that's just not something that I'm willing to compromise on. So that's kind of my view. But the number ranges because we run a couple of different offers. Because we've got the affiliate offering, and I've got one-to-one, and we've got inner circle as well. But it's a lot lower volume than most people, because we also work with people for the longer term. we might enroll a couple of clients in a month, but they're people that we'll work with for 12, 24 months, right? We could definitely make more if we had like a 90-day 5K, crank as much volume as you can business. But we've also run the volume model, and I didn't enjoy it at its peak. So the last couple of years we've been refining that. It's more about building MRR. And when you're trying to build MRR, right fit is the most important thing. I had someone ask me the other day about stick rates on high ticket MRR, and our stick rates are really, really high. Like most people that sign up stay with us for a year, if not two. And a lot of that comes down to I'm fine, thanks, dude. A lot of that comes down to, right, like it's just got to be the right person who isn't pressured. Like 15 clients for me would be, I don't want that. And probably what I just explains that. It's certainly an interesting strategy, jumping on lives and asking questions to try and pitch people there. Yeah, so Jamie, Ringo, you guys align, right? And that's just so important. When you've got money in the bank, when you've got MRR stacked, you just need to sit back and pause and go, well, what's the most important thing for me? And I think where a lot of the industry goes wrong is people just put the dollar figure on a pedestal. And if they saw behind the scenes of what that actually looks like, it would be a very, very different conversation. Good question. With everything set up, how many hours a week are you actually working? Well, the last 6 weeks when I was moving and traveling, hours per week is probably like maybe 5. That said, in more normal mode, I kind of split quote unquote work into 2 buckets. You've got what you need to do, which is your deliverables to clients. And for me, content is probably doesn't even go in the need to bucket. But I value it very, very highly, and I value consistency of creation. So they're the 2 things that I perceive that I need to do, which is obviously follow through with clients. And for me, I'm big on this progressive brand building, chipping away at it, having a consistent presence and expanding, albeit at a slower speed than if you were cranking huge volume through ads. And so if you look at that first bucket, just trying to do a bit of quick math on the fly for you. Bare bones, if I hit all the content that I wanted to hit, emails, YouTube videos, socials, doing lives and stuff like this, plus the client delivery, I could run the business in, on average, probably 2 hours a day would be ample. Then you get into the next bucket, which is building, which is the next bucket is building, is thinking. As silly as that sounds, you do need to spend a lot of time thinking and strategizing. Things that I do outside the business, investing, all that kind of stuff, and researching around that. And then education is another bucket. So call it 2 hours a day in like need to do. And then the rest of the time gets split between a couple of other buckets. So I still spend, I still probably spend the average work day at my desk on an average day. Timing being more flexible than probably most people have. But the quote unquote need to work is a pretty small number. Which is great to have because most of the stuff that's not in the need to do bucket can wait. Like it's just stuff I'm exploring out of interest and, planning, trying to future-proof the business for longevity, all those kind of things. So hopefully that kind of answers your question. But the average day, I still sit at my desk. I do an average day of quote unquote work. It's just that time is split between a couple of things. But managing that need to work number, I think, is important because if that number is 8 hours a day, you have no freedom. You have no flexibility. So if you can manage that number down, it doesn't mean that you don't work, but it just means that you can be a lot more flexible and you don't have to be at your desk. Yeah, Ringo, I'll play devil's advocate on that, man. I don't know. I've never really had a problem with it. I think you've just got to look at the marketplace and go, I think the problem people run into is, like I was saying before, is they get caught up in the dollars, right? For me, I've always looked at who money's a part of it, sure, but who's living the way that I want to live. And in particular, my last 2 mentors have been big plays around that. Who has their life structured in a way that means that the income is on point, but it's being earned in a way that allows them to live the way I want to live. And when I say live, I don't mean like Lambos and that kind of bullshit. I mean like time, flexibility, stability, low stress, clear calendar, leverage, effectively. And sure, people can I guess fake that, but I think if you pay enough attention, you can kind of tell. Like the last mentor I paid, there was like this perfect intersection between 3 things. One, we're on a big MRR building expedition with the right clients, and he has a really good track record in that. So that's the financial aspect tick. But he also spent the last 12 months traveling the world. So for not even if I don't necessarily want to do that, you've got freedom and flexibility tick. And he has 2 kids, and I'm about to have my first kid in July. So that he's been able to do that while traveling and achieve the target that I want to achieve. So you create this kind of Venn diagram of 3 circles, and it's that intersection in the middle, right? So it goes kind of deeper than just the financial. So I don't know. Yeah, Ringo. I mean, that's a different market, dude. Like you got to get out of that shit. I wouldn't even waste my time looking at them. You need to pay attention to people who view it as a real business. People who tell you that in order to get to a certain point, it takes hard work, right? Like it's don't even pay attention to that shit. Yeah, I mean, McCool, that one's kind of hard to advise on without having full context. But if the goal is to grow the business, then yeah, find a way to serve them. if there's a more, I mean, if they're looking for done for you, then that's pretty hard to do in a leveraged way unless you outsource it yourself and you arbitrage the transaction and take a clip off the top. But if there's maybe if you could talk them around to a more leveraged model for yourself, albeit for maybe a lower financial return, then yeah, 100%. If people are, I mean, I'd be paying attention to like what's the core of what they're looking for. Is it purely they're looking for like a gun for hire, done for you thing that's going to be that's going to be time driven, or is there something deeper there that they're actually looking for? Like, what's the deeper offer? And then you may be able to actually package that up in a way that's more leveraged. Jamie, what did you do in the beginning to pump volume into your community? Well, it's funny. The first like 400 or 500 people, I was still working my corporate job, and I couldn't really be too public. So I built the first 400 or 500 people just in the DMs, just inviting them in the DMs, like kind of hustling that way. Then after that, it became more of an exercise in pointing the other platforms' traffic to the group. So, we might email about it, or, it might be linked off your profile, or, whatever other platforms you're playing around on YouTube, and you kind of set it up as a little bit of a hub that way. And then I was literally just filming a video about this. You guys could use this if you want to, or modify it if you want to. I'll drop it in your comment, Jamie. Hold on. You can have an SOP like that you could do yourself. We could give to a VA. Invite people. What are the questions, guys? Anything else I can field? I dropped a video walking through this in the group, so you scroll up to the top and check out the pinned post. But we can do a little quick. Let me just pull up this question first. As your friends, how targeted do you need to be? Is that scrutiny handle? Yeah, look, it's more of a quantity over quality play initially, man. You want to build up that like kind of foundational 2,000 people, and then the suggested friends become a lot more valuable because Facebook's pretty good at reading the landscape in terms of all those people that you've got. So you need to be more targeted initially, is my point, and then as you build up that pool, you can probably relax a bit because the suggested friends should be more aligned, if that makes sense. We'll just touch on this real quick. In case you guys have any other questions, you can. Just probably more for our folks who are a bit newer to the world. This is kind of how we do things. Let me just pull this up. So you guys should be able to see this. This is our basic model. This is how we do things. the big black block on the left-hand side is something you want to build out in the stages. If you guys want to chase like trends and stuff, then ignore this. But if you want to build something, like I've been doing this since 2017, 2018, and we've just been consistent, right? Like we don't put up the biggest numbers in the world. We're not doing $1 million months, but we're also not jumping from trend to trend, right? If you look at all the big players, this is what they do. Left-hand side, you want to progressively build out your brand and your world, right? That might, like for me, that started as simple as this purple block with Meta, a Facebook group. This was literally the first platform when I started the personal brand. Then it can expand over time, right? You can add micro video, you can add, like that was the community there. You can add email. You just, as you can take on people to help you out and stuff, inch by inch, just build out your world bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, right? People around it. So I'll send out emails that push people to the community. I'll send out emails that push people to the YouTube page, YouTube channel. We might run remarketing ads to push people to the community. Just view your audience as this big, it's your own world, right? And you you're the leader in that world, and you create messaging and you move people around. The goal is consumption. The entire point of content is to build relationships at scale, period. Right? The stronger that relationship, the easier selling becomes. If you want to have to really twist people's arms to buy from you, create little to no content, create really shitty, shallow content. And that's why you have to spend ages trying to convince people to buy from you. If you want really easy sales, build the relationship in a really strong way on the front end and do it in a leverage way through your content. That's the distinction. Okay. So this is the first phase and this never really stops. It's constant. Right? We're in here right now. This is what I'm doing. I'm hanging out with a group of you that wanted to come chat, right? I just filmed a YouTube video that the team will upload, I'll send an email out later today. We might take the recording from this and drop it on YouTube. The agency I work with can take this and they can slice it up into micro videos. We've got some ads running, right? Because of my results and experience, I've always got word of mouth and referrals cranking, which is from down here, right? This is how the model compounds. I've got assets on other people's platforms. That's what OPP stands for, from all the interviews and things that I've done along the journey. You build out this ecosystem over time to inch by inch get bigger and stronger, right? There's two layers to this. You've got width and you've got depth. The width is how many people, the depth is how much they know about you, right? Most people are purely focused on width and their depth sucks. So they can end up with a really big audience who has no fucking clue who they are, right? My audience is pretty small, but the depth is quite strong. You need both. You need a balance of width and depth. Width is how many, depth is the relationship. And this is why you've got YouTube channels with 1 million followers who make no money. Right? So this is what you do, inch by inch. And this is why it's important that you talk about stuff that's of interest to you, because you need to be creating and talking about it consistently and moving people around your world, right? From there, this generates us DM conversation opportunities with people who know who I am because of this, right? And this arrow goes in both directions because either they can come to us or we can go to them. Obviously, it's advantageous if they come to us because it's on our terms then. But if we go to them, that's still fine too. You can still easily close deals that way. The framing of this conversation, you really don't need fancy scripts and shit, guys. It's really just about, can I help this person? And are we aligned? It really doesn't need to be fancy. We've got this little extra layer here. From time to time, we run campaigns. Right? The whole goal of that is ultimately we use what I call derivative assets from our main program. We can extract them, convert them into a new asset, run a campaign that will generate a cash influx, will extract buyers and accelerates the relationship. We ultimately then can have a DM conversation and move them into our main offer. Our clients' main offers typically sit between 3K and 50K. And it's all driven off the DM conversation. We've currently got offers we sell in the DMs at 3K. That's the affiliate offer. 15 to 18K which is in a circle, and then my one-to-one sits between 40 and 50K, depending on the payment terms. And we sell all that over chat, right? And so people either come directly out of the ecosystem, or they come via a campaign that we run, and then ultimately that leads to a conversation, and then we sell the signature offer, right? Then they're in your world. They follow your methodologies, they follow your protocols, they get results, and you extend and ascend. You build a plan to work together longer. Maybe you increase the level of support. That's the ascension. And then they have a good experience with you, and they tell people about you, and then it feeds back. And then, you work with client Sally. She has a great experience. She tells her audience about you. This kicks in. Then, a percentage of her audience comes and finds you. How they find you might vary. Some of them might see you on YouTube. Some of them might just hit you up on Facebook. Some of them might find your community, right? Whatever. Then they're into your world. Boom. It continues. This is the model, right? And here's the goals. 50K per month plus, multiple 5 figures of MRR. The goal is that on the day one of each month, all the business costs are paid and you're making a profit on day one. Clear calendar for the founder, small team of 1 to 2 people, highly leveraged through content, which is this, and sales assets, which is how we sell here. And then the ultimate goal, generate significant cash flow while things are enjoyable, and then you move that cash into investments to ultimately build passive income offline. That's the goal of the overall business, the next step. And you guys can start this from day one. I've been doing this. I've been progressively building this ecosystem since 2018. As I said, just started with this group. Then profile. Then we added email. We started doing YouTube. This is the model. The whole goal of all of this is to generate conversations. Ideally, conversations with people who've spent some time with you out here. They've been in your group. They've read your emails. They follow your posts. They've watched you on YouTube. The more time they've spent with you out here, the easier this conversation becomes because they feel like they know you. If the folks on this live with me spent 2 hours here every day with me for a month, this would be a very easy conversation to have about working together because you know how we do things. You know who I am. You could easily say yes or no because we've spent 60 hours together. So that's kind of the approach. Let's bring this back up here. And then obviously those different platforms, you can repurpose content across them, et cetera, et cetera. I can take this recording, I can put it over onto YouTube. I can take a Facebook post, I can use it as an email, blah, 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 blah. And that's where, the leverage aspect is in 2 layers. One, it's leveraged in that you create a piece of content and multiple people can see it. It's not you doing it one-to-one, but there's also leverage in that you can duplicate it. Ringo, which way is affiliate marketing going in the next, say, year? What's going to be big for us? Dude, affiliate marketing doesn't change. Affiliate marketing is recommending a product. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can either do it with your face or without your face. You either do it behind the scenes or through a personal brand. Which way is it going? I think the importance of being a trusted brand is just going to increase because the market becomes more sophisticated, which means that people are going to become more aware of bullshit. The effectiveness of the shenanigans goes down. So what's going to be big for you is investing in your personal brand and being transparent and authentic and, following through on your deliverables, as crazy and as simple as that sounds. What tasks does your VA do versus the VA basically does everything in between content, convos, and delivery. So all the little tasks in between, right? Managing the group, letting people in, uploading a call from Zoom to Google Drive, like the administrative side of it. If you think about the business as three pillars: content, convos, and client work. I create the content. At the moment, I have the conversations, and I obviously do the delivery. All the little pieces in between that link all of that up, the VA does. Cool. Anything else you guys want to cover? I have a cranking headache today. Need more water. Offers, content, sales, delivery structures. Oh, I just saw that extra question. Sorry, my bad. I'm sleeping on YouTube. Should I start by putting the training videos in my Facebook group or there, or should I be making new videos? Start with the easiest way. So if you've got stuff that's already filmed, just start uploading that. Start like beyond legacy content that you've already got. Start repurposing your newer stuff, right? Like if you're doing a live, just upload the live, whatever. And then in the last instance, create native content. Just get the ball rolling with simplicity and the leveraged aspect that we spoke about. That would be my 2 cents. Because a new platform natively without an agency or a team doing it for you is a big undertaking. How do you 10x yourself into mentorship to help as many qualified individuals as possible? I'm not sure I fully understand the question. Maybe if you can rephrase it, Mark. Your ability to help more clients is based on how you structure the delivery, the delivery system that you use, right? Obviously, if you're selling one-to-one and you're selling, packs of hours, you're going to cap out. Then you go, all right, well, how can we do one-to-one in a leveraged way? Or how do we do a purely leveraged offer? So if that's what you mean, it really depends on, it really comes down to how you structure the program and the deliverables. You've got to manage that because otherwise, you'll bottleneck. But a lot of people also worry about scaling problems when they're not even there, right? And so a lot of times I have to say to people, well, don't worry about that yet. Let's get, let's get things sorted and selling, and then we can figure out how we need to rejig the deliverables. Let me know if that's what you meant, Mark. I'm not sure by the 10x yourself into mentorship. I assume you just mean like kind of making yourself available to multiple people, I guess. What else, guys? Well, you've got me here. What's the bottlenecks you're facing? Are you trying to make any decisions? Should you go left or right? Deciding on platforms, content strategy, how to handle conversations, changes to your offer. Yeah, that's a really good question, Eli. Yeah, it's just a little kind of mental hurdle that you need to get over, and I guess the only way to do it is to put the offer out there. And you know, pull the trigger on it. I think the key to make yourself feel a little bit more comfortable with it is reflect on two things. One, the actual value that people are receiving, and two, how easy it is for them to get an ROI, right? Like I've got clients who pay $5,000 a month to work with me. And most people would go, oh, you know, $5,000 a month, that's a lot of money. You know, 60 grand a year. And it's like, sure, you know, if you look at it in a silo and look at that number in a silo, then yeah, you know, I guess it's a big number. But if my clients have a $10,000 offer and through working with me, they can sell 1, 2, 3 more of them on any given month, that makes them an extra 10, 20, 30 grand, the ROI is stupid, right? Like find me another investment with that type of ROI, you know? So that's one big thing to look at, right? If you know, if you're selling 10K packages, what's the potential upside for them? You know, how easy is it for them to get an ROI? Like we've got Inner Circle that's kind of, you know, 15 to 18 grand per year, depending on the payment terms that folks choose to take. And again, some people would say, you know, it's expensive. It depends on your kind of relationship with money, but there's, you know, 15 to 20 campaigns in there that we've run that have all generated a lot more than that. And folks can model them and deploy them. And any one of those campaigns could bring in that amount, if not more. And that's before you get into all of the other content that's in there. That's before you get into a year of support. That's before you get into the value in the community. Like there's a lot of layers of value that can be derived. So I'd look at it from that perspective, the ROI and the upside for folks. And that's only purely looking at it from a financial perspective. That's even before you get into the second, third, fourth order consequences. I just got off a call with 2 clients, and, you know, one of the gents used to work, you know, 80-hour weeks and never saw his kids. And he was just saying, you know, the last 3 years since he's quit his job and kind of scaled up his business, he sees his family every day, you know, like the way it should be. And so that's before you even get into the second, third, fourth order consequences of what money can then unlock, right? The reduction in stress, you know, like, you know, I've had mentors that haven't necessarily made me more money, but they've changed the money I've made from once off income to recurring income. And while it's not actually about making more money, it's about earning money in a different way, which means that, you know, the business is a lot more stable, which lowers my stress levels a lot. You can't put a price on that, right? So look at all of the different layers of value that people can extract. And this is a conversation for a whole another day, because layers of value is a very interesting conversation. But yeah, I'd look at it from that perspective. And I think you'll find that 10 grand is very easy to come up with. Then you've just got to start putting it out there. And once you do it once, you'll go, oh, it's the same as 5 grand. Nothing's really changed. And I know we spoke about doing some work together, man. So hit me back when you're ready to rock. Mark, one man can only do so much. So when you have to mentor others in more in-depth concepts, how do you steer the amount of qualified people into one-on-ones? Yeah, so it's program structure. So even one-to-one, you can have leverage, right? like you could, like an element of your one-to-one program could be, like you could have let's say you've got a group program and a one-to-one program. You could have all of those one-to-one people get access to the group. So that's a value add. But then a key aspect of the one-to-one could be that you have, like my one-to-one clients, which I call Platinum, they have a private Slack thread with me, right? So that's one-to-one, but it still has leverage for me because I can have multiple text conversations at once. The only element that's not leveraged is the time on the actual calls. And so that's the layer that you have to juggle is, one, how much time can I allocate to being on calls? And two, how much time do I want to allocate to being on calls? You could sell more, but you may not want to. So it's all about structure. And there's a lot of different ways that you can skin the cat in terms of program structures, be it one-to-one or group, or a hybrid of both. You've also got to consider in program structure relative to pricing, and pricing is going to be dictated based on income goals if you want to build recurring or if you just want to do, PIFs or whatever. Good questions, guys. Anything else I can field? Yeah, Ringo, dude, it's not easy. It's pretty simple, but it's not easy. The model is simple. It's just not easy. Nothing's easy. And I never tell people it's easy. Mark, I've done it frequently previously. I haven't of late. This is kind of a first one back. I've been away, so I'm just feeling it out, but we'll see how we go. You'll get notified via the group if I schedule one anyway. What would you do differently starting out to see success? I love seeing people succeed. I'll give you the ultimate piece of advice, and people are going to disregard this, but disregard it at your own peril. The biggest mistake that I see people making, and this is starting out and once they're in momentum, is they keep moving the goalposts. What I mean by that is they don't set one goal and put their head down until they hit it. If you pick a target, you can change the strategy, you can change the game plan, you can change the approach along the way. That's fine, right? You may not want to too frequently because some things take time to work. But for me, what has got me here today is picking one target at a time and not changing it until I hit it. First one was, and the folks that have followed me for a while will have heard me say this over and over again. For some reason, I have US dollars hanging off my desk. This one was the first one with ClickFunnels. Then it became legendary. Then it was this launch, albeit for a shorter period of time, but it was still a singular focus. Then it became this 2 Comma Club. Now it's 100K a month MRR. So a singular focus, and you do not change the goal until you hit it. Right? Because if you keep changing the goalposts, it becomes really difficult to do anything else. Whereas if you've got one single reference point, it drives all your other decisions, and it makes decision making a hell of a lot easier. So it's not some tactic. It's not some strategy. It's pick one target. And that could be an income number. It could be an award. It could be an audience size. It could be a number of clients, whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. Just pick a single thing and do not deviate from that goal until you hit it. And what starts to happen is if you do that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you start to trust yourself a lot more. What happens with a lot of people is they keep moving the goalposts, which means that they quote unquote fail at achieving their goals, and they don't trust themselves. They start to doubt themselves, and it's a really negative, shitty spiral. So if you pick one goal, stick to it, and do that over and over again, you start to trust yourself more and more, which is going to increase your confidence around decision making. You'll be able to move more quickly, and a lot of things happen. Ringo, the way the car thing works is they make lease payments for you. You don't actually get a car, but they don't get given a car, but you do get a call trophy. Yeah, I cannot say that enough times. It's everything. It's like the ultimate hack that most people ignore. Awesome. All right, folks. Well, I'm going to wrap this one up. I appreciate you all coming to hang out. I'll let you know if we are going to do these more frequently. I'm thinking about a couple of things in terms of this group and community and the overall kind of direction I want to take it. At 1,200, I'd just leave them. I'd leave them and try and revamp it through content. I'll give you a quick little doc on group revival while I'm here. If I can find it quickly. Yeah. A quick one pager on group revival might be helpful. Cool. All right, folks. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Get in touch if there's any interest in working together. If you're in the affiliate space, that would be SAA. If you're in the coaching or consulting space, that would be my inner circle or one-to-one. We can have a quick chat over the DMs, and I'll let you know if one can help you, and then 2, which would be the best path to take, and then you can decide if you want to do it or not. Appreciate you all hanging out with me. Have a great day, and I will talk to you all in the next one. Cheers.